Hi everyone, my name is Alex. I'm a professional astrologer from New Zealand, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about and discussing annual profections. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about annual profections and what that means, what it means to be going through that, what to look out for, and my own personal experience from living through recently an 8th house annual profected year, and I'm currently in a 9th house annual profected year. So what are annual profections? So every year in our lives, ever since we're born, in the birth chart, it's separated into 12 houses, and I'll put an example of what that looks like and what the annual profection chart looks like up here. So every year, one of the houses in our birth chart is activated more than the other houses. So this is going to be an area of focus for us for the upcoming 12 months. Everyone in our age group is going through the same house year because it's based on your year. Like, say for example, you're 31, you're going through an 8th house year. You're 32, you're going through a 9th house year. However, when it's in your own birth chart, it depends what sign the house is in, and then it depends on the planetary ruler for that house. So for example, as a Capricorn rising, my 9th house is in Virgo. So my 9th house is ruled by Mercury. So for me, my planet of the year this year, my lord of the year, is going to be Mercury, and every single movement that Mercury makes through my chart is going to be really significant and really important for me to pay attention to. It's likely also going to activate lots of other areas in my chart, and sort of things and aspects it's making to my personal planets will be really important for me to look out for. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my year last year, which was an 8th house year, and my year this year. So where do I begin? Going through an 8th house year is very significant, and I wanted to talk about the 8th house and the 9th house specifically because these are the 2 years that I've recently really been putting annual profections into play, into practice, and understanding and observing what's happening in my own chart as compared to what's actually happening in astrologically as well. So last year I went through an 8th house year. An 8th house year, the 8th house rules death and rebirth. It also rules sex and intimacy. It rules the taboo. It also rules other people's finances is a huge thing for the 8th house. It's a finance house. It is a really important house. It's a house of just transformation. It's a house of magic. So it is an important house that is going to be showing up for you, and the themes that are going to be showing up for you are likely going to be really present and really prominent than maybe other houses years. Every annual profected year is obviously going to be important, but the houses that are really important, like ending houses, is going to be maybe more significant potentially for you personally. But it really does also depend on your own personal planets in that perfected house year that would also be playing a part of that too. So for me personally, my sun is in Leo, so it is in my 8th house. So this last year has really been a year of significant endings for me, significant transformation, significant changes. I unfortunately had a lot of people pass away that I knew or that I was close to in that 8th house year, which is kind of a common theme, and I say that lightly, but it is really heavy and really difficult. Doesn't necessarily mean it will be the case for you going through an 8th house year. It's very dependent on your own personal placements, and obviously also what's happening for you personally. And always take astrology with a grain of salt when you're looking at it in terms of endings and death, because no astrologer is going to be 100% correct in interpreting that. So just make sure that if anyone is telling you that, that's not okay, to be honest. Should not be telling anyone that someone's going to die. But for me personally, I did experience a lot of endings and a lot of loss in my year last year. I experienced a lot of changes financially significantly. I experienced a lot of different streams of income popping up for me to sort of take on more work, earn more money. I really found that I really deepened my practice when practicing my spirituality and deepening my connection to astrology and learning more about astrology and connecting with people that helps me learn more and understand more. I also have Jupiter in my 8th house, so for me it was a lot about learning and discovery and spiritual studies and things like that, which is what I did a lot of last year. So it was really accurate for me personally, my experience of an 8th house year, which I found really interesting when I started to dive more into Annual Profections. So to touch on that again, Annual Profections is a technique that we use as an astrologer, a combination of looking at a solar return. So Annual Profections can be used on their own. It is a technique that you can still just look at on its own in a siloed way. You can look at that and you can look at, say, what planet is the ruler, the lord of the year, and just look at that in terms of getting understanding of what sort of themes would be coming up for you in that year ahead. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the only thing you should look at, because it also should be looked at in combination with your solar return chart. And these are the type of readings I love doing, because I really like helping my clients understand what the year ahead has in store for them. So this year is a current 9th house year for me. So already I am experiencing what a 9th house year has in store for me. So for example, the 9th house is the house of international travel, working with people from foreign cultures, countries, higher learning. So it can be taking on university studies, diving into deeper studies, or understanding at a higher level. It can also involve the higher law, so it's like a legal house as well. It also is like spiritual studies again. It's a house of just exploration and learning, studying. It is a house that is really expansive and it is a house that is very much involved with travel. So for me personally, I experienced my birthday moving into this 9th house year in a foreign country, which I found was really, of course it was. So it was really accurate and spot on for me personally. Again, now that I'm really paying attention to these years that I'm in, the 9th house year for me is involving a lot of travel. My Mercury is also in my 9th house. I have Mercury, Venus, Mars all in my 9th house of Virgo. So it's a very full house for me. And when you have other planets in your house of houses, it does pull in themes of those houses that those planets rule. So for me personally, I have Mars, Venus, and Mercury in my 9th house. So Venus rules my 5th and 10th houses, Mars rules my 4th house, and also my 11th house. So for me, it's pulling in all these themes of work, of what I find joyful, what I find pleasurable in terms of like things like hobbies and things like that, connection with my partner, connection with my work and putting my work out there and my career, and also connection with friendships and groups like that, and also connection with home, property, family, and obviously, of course, the Mercury does rule my 9th and also my 6th house of Gemini. So again, work is really pulled into that too. So with that, we look at all of the planets, if there's more than one in that house, or where the Lord of the Year is for the Lord of the Year planet. So if the Lord of the Year planet is in another house, so for me personally, it's in the house that is activated this year. It's in my 9th house, but for someone else, it's very likely in a different house and in a different sign. So you'd also look at that as a layer to interpret, to look at what's going to be happening for you for this annual perfected year. So for me already, I'm filming this video in a different country. I'm visiting Melbourne at the moment for a wedding of my friends. So very Venus orientated too, and very Mars orientated as well, friendships and love, and with Venus involved. So it is really like accurate and spot on when I realized that that was going to be happening for me in this year. I have some other trips coming up too that I've planned. So there's a lot of things being pulled in that are really activated from my 9th house year. Thank you so much for watching, and I would love to hear what annual perfected year you are in. So comment down below what year you're in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.